miast Macedonii.
Our presentation today will be a little bit different, as you will see, because the Municipal Heraldry in Macedonia is rather different than what we have seen so far at this conference. And before we could go to see the arms, I think there are some things that we have to firstly say in order to get the larger picture before we could go and judge the arms. Okay. Republic of Macedonia is the upper part. It was in the Ottoman Empire until the Balkan Wars in 1912, 1913. And this is the part that actually became part of Serbia, later Kingdom of Yugoslavia. And it was gained independent in 1991. It is a small country of almost 25 square kilometers and 2 million population. I think that for Eastern Europeans these are non-facts, but I have to admit. The first and the oldest known symbol of a territorial entity in Macedonia is the flag over Skopje, shown on the Angelina Dulcerti map of 1339. It is a red double-headed eagle on a yellow field, but few years later, Macedonia fell under the Ottoman Empire, and it was lasting until 1912, for almost 6 centuries. And therefore, the heraldic idea in Macedonia were disappearing because of the Ottoman practice due to its Islamic view of using of symbols. The oldest Macedonian, the oldest modern Macedonian arms is the arms of city of Skopje from the beginning of the 1930s, and here is represented together with the coat of arms of the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. And it is an example of landscape arms. We'll see a landscape showing the stone bridge over the river Vardar, the Skopje, Kale fortress, and the mountain. And Skopje is the first city, or one of the first cities under the Danube, or from the lands that did not belong to Austria-Hungary, to get its coat of arms. First was the capital, then Belgrade in 1931, and then later on Skopje. We could see 2 more renderings of coat of arms of Skopje. First is from 1950s, which is much more heraldic than what we used before. And the second one of 67 shows, this is actually the emblem or the coat of arms of Skopje. It was registered at the WPO, WPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. Other arms that I want to show is the probably second oldest. This is the arms of Bitola in 1964, and now we could see the socialist elements in it. We could see the power wheel, the symbol of the strength, the symbol of work, but also we have the inevitable 5-pointed star, and then the date of the liberation from the World War II. Because most important to understand that in people's mind, everything before the liberation was not considered. Therefore, I will show you one more example of the socialist heraldry. This is the arms of Radovic. 1970 have the same thing, the factories, the red pointed star, and the date of liberation. Now, speaking of territorial divisions. After the World War II, there were several short territorial divisions, and the longest lasting territorial organization is from 1965 to 1996, which gave 32 municipalities. There was no specific law, since the territorial organization was regulated by the constitutional law, which did not mention the coat of arms or the flags of the municipalities. By 1970, when Miloš Konstantinov wrote his article on municipal flags, just 7 municipalities replied positively to his inquiry whether they used a coat of arms. There were Skopje, Bitola, Kumanovo, Kruševo, Ohrid, Struga, and Radović. 5 municipalities answered negatively, and the rest did not bother to answer. And all coat of arms were in the previous socialistic style. The territorial organization of 96 made 123 municipalities, plus the capital Skopje with a special status. And this is interesting that for the first time, the new law on the territorial division had mentioned flags and coat of arms, and the Article 7 of the law reads that the units of the self-government or municipalities may have their own coat of arms and flag. Coat of arms and flags of the municipality differ from the coat of arms of the flag of the Republic of Macedonia, coat of arms of the flag of other municipalities, as well as the coat of arms of other countries and the coat of arms of the flags of the municipalities in the other countries. Coat of arms and the flag differ from coat of arms of the flag of other countries and international organizations. The manner and procedures for determining the coat of arms and the flags is regulated by the state. Coat of arms and flags of the municipalities may be used after the registration by the Institute of the State Administration in charge for local self-government. Later, the new reorganization in 2004 gave 83 municipalities, plus capital Skopje. And there is also mentioning of the coat of arms with similar text, which states in the Article 10 that municipalities may have their own coat of arms and flags. And the coat of arms and flags of the municipalities differ from the coat of arms and the flags of the Republic of Macedonia. And coats of arms and the flags of other municipalities and the city of Skopje. Coat of arms and the flags differ from the coat of arms and the flags of other countries, local governments, and other communities, and other countries and international organizations. The manner of procedure for determining the coat of arms and the flags is regulated by the state. The ministry responsible for carrying out activities relating to local government keeps a register of coats of arms and flags of municipalities, and coat of arms and municipalities may be used only after the registration in the register under the paragraph of this article. You want to read them again? But to boil down these two articles, it says that every municipality have a right to have one. So it's not compulsory, but it's only a provisional. And the second, the municipality have right to decide how they could obtain this coat of arms and flags. But it has to be mentioned in the constitution of the municipalities. And the third, there is a register in the Ministry of Self-Government. But when we see how this works in the last 15 years, we could see that not all the municipalities have decided to have coat of arms or flag. And which is more important for us, the term coat of arms, which is stated in the Constitution and in this law, is not understood in its logical and its heraldic meaning, but simply it's thought to symbolize any kind of symbol. But it's referred to and it's called as a coat of arms. And as we'll see later, there are some that could not be considered coat of arms even under the broadest idea of coat of arms. And the third part says that, the third is that almost all stages were just copied one from another, because it was the way how they were supposed to do that. And the procedure always said that there will be a public bid, and then the municipality consisted a commission which has no heraldic idea or no background in order to proceed with this public bid, and then to propose the winning candidate to the municipality council for adoption. And almost all calls for the proposal here are stating this line, saying that the arms should include elements that represent the historical tradition, cultural heritage, landscape characteristics, geographic and economic, and other characteristics of given municipalities. And although this probably means one of them, many of the municipalities think that this is the rule, that they have to include elements of every of these things. So we have a special example of this. So this is the coat of arms of municipality of Kisela, and we could consider this like full, all you can on a shelf, as a term of having all the symbols a municipality could. Not just symbols, many times it's a photographic representation of the village or the town. The only thing that is actually regulated is the registration. And there is a register of the coat of arms and flags of the municipalities, and there is an appointed clerk who is responsible with the registration. And here is how the registration goes. First, the only role this clerk has to see whether the paperwork is completed. Second, that the municipal statute has an article how to obtain coat of arms. Three, that procedure was actually fulfilled. As I said before, it was always public bid. So the registration see whether there was a public bid performed. And then, if there is a text, it should be first written in Macedonian and Cyrillic, and then in the language and script of the minorities. And this is a very specific to Macedonia, having in mind there is a large Albanian population there, and many of those of the arms, they were just written in Albanian. So this was a provisional law to fix that. And after all these check marks were done, then this coat of arms and flags was registered. So without any heraldic background, any heraldic flag, the only thing that was given or provided was a statement from the Bureau of Intellectual Property that the elements there are not used somewhere else and that they are not subject of copyright. So after that, this is how they are registered. However, in this law about the registering, there is no penalty or any punitive measure, which means that many municipalities even did not bother to register their flags and coat of arms because there was no punishment for not doing so. So this commission is in a kind of just a voluntary action. And now, in order to see how we could relate to this, I would like to be able to show you some, or actually I will be showing you all of this so-called coat of arms. And I have a special system here that will be very different than what you have here, because we are just trying to find and to encourage heraldicity. You are here dealing with the theoretical questions about whether it's something very pure heraldic, but as you will see here in our concept, because there is no any kind of law or even in the head of people, I show you the coat of arms of Kisela, it is still the prevailing concept. First, that it should have to be a landscape heraldry, like the city of Skopje. And the second thing is that to put all you can, all the symbols. And one of the third thing is that most of them will have text, because it's very hard to argue with other people, and especially with the city council. They will ask the question, how people will know that it's our coat of arms? They do not understand the idea of the visual identity, so they have to have, we have to write down. So first, in order again to understand, I will start from the back, so you could get the situation. However, I have 5 broad categories here. First are heraldic arms, or arms that could be considered heraldic. 2 is mere heraldic arms, that arms could be considered heraldic with minor corrections. Possible heraldic arms could be redone in a heraldic manner. 4 hardly heraldic arms, that arms could be redone, but only with a serious redesign and reducing the number of elements. And the 5th are non-heraldic arms with no chances of heraldization. So what we are trying here is to find the first principle of heraldry, or one of the first principles of heraldry, is that the ideas are shown with symbols, not with actual representation or near photographic. So we are trying to find, using this, how we could manage. And of course, for you that you are coming from a more pure, or actually a pure heraldic idea, you would have placed these arms in a lower category than they are here. So let's start. There are also several subcategories that we will see. First, there are the logos. So I'm not going to comment on them. Some of them are logos, they intend to be logos, and they are logos. So they are not coat of arms, but they're logos, maybe are distant logos. But there are some codes that pretend to be coat of arms. Then we have the quasi-heraldic, which means they use the shield as the only heraldic idea, at least use the shield. So we have several ideas. Some even try to mimic the heraldic arms, like the first one in Bosilo, at least has 4 quarters. And for most of the people say, I think that if you put 4 quarters, you have more space to add more elements. So that's the only reason to have a quarters. Then we'll have the symbolic landscapes. As I said, the landscape is the main important thing. So we have a symbolic landscapes category, and then we have the more realistic landscapes. As you could see, for example, the diva, which is like a photograph taken from the balcony of your room and then cut to a shape of a shield. And then you have still remnant of the socialism with the antennas and so later on. Then we go to a hardly heraldic, which at least there is an idea that you could try to use, dropping out many elements, but at least use some symbolic that you could develop. This is what we have. There are more arms to come. So, for example, the same idea of Strumica is going to be close to, but there are also graphic representation of landscape that you can't heal.
Kościerzyna? Nie.
Then we come to some that at least have some hope to be done. This is one of the stereotypes, but then they need the correction of the elements. Of course, I would not say for any category just to remove the text, because I said almost all have a text. So for the people, when they see the graphic, to know that it is supposed to be a coat of arms of that particular municipality. Sometimes it is in a in the part that could not be considered part of the shield, so at least it's better. But many times it is put in the shield, as we can see here. Now we have some examples that could be better, but they need a correction of colors. For example, the first one we have the black over red field. The city of Veles, it was just designed for a pin, I guess, and they never developed into something else. And then we have many times we use not a single color, but it's a full rainbow of colors. Or just some of the ideas of the shades of one color. And this is, we still have the socialistic idea of using the red, because it is part of our coat of arms of the country, and it was part of all socialist coat of arms. It was a symbol of the richness of the agricultural. So many, we still have that remnants, as we could see here, of reds placed. So this is like an example taken from the coat of arms of the state, with the poppy and the red. Now we came to a nearly heraldic, but then some ideas, some small correction are needed. For example, the city of Carpos, the municipality of Carpos, we have very bad choice of white billets over golden. The original design that is still used uses shades of these billets just to make distinction. But this could be easily seen if we just created them in Azure. And then we have groups that are we could use, but we could change. For example, city of Ohrid. This is a coat of arms that existed for 40 years, but then they decided to use the symbol of the World Heritage Organization, because this is part. It is the same example if all the cities that had Olympic Games to put the Olympic rings in their coat of arms. Or we have, for example, this very nice here shield with a cross, which is taken from a 13th or 14th century monastery, but then there is added of some Neolithic birds carving that are found in that municipality. And then also the text, there are some arms that could be simply written, but if you speak about the blason, then people use heraldically. For example, the coat of arms of Stick, which uses a castle or a mountain in two colors. It could be redrawn, but of course we have to remove the text. Then we have Negotino. Also, we have to remove the text. Here, just too much text. And then we will come to a coat of arms that we would consider to be heraldic. When we get back from this category 5, at least we are moving here to find an emblem that we could at least work with. So this is the coat of arms of Bitola. You saw coat of arms of Bitola before. I started with this, with the socialist idea of the power wheel, with field division that we could not even gloss on or something. Then we have Kochani. This is the rice stalks that are growing in Kochani. Kochani is a town that is known for rice production. We have here one symbolic church used with another shield, which is a cross made of pretzels, which are very famous for that town. We have Kostivar, which at least uses two shades, so still has to be retouched. And then we have another group using just one symbol. This is the phoenix over the flame. And at least we have some, like a single symbol used. I have Arachinova with a special wolf teeth division, and it is a tower. And then we have these two more arms that at least have one symbol that we could blazon and a heraldic division. So, in conclusion, we have to say that due to historical processes that there was a 6 centuries gap in the heraldic practice in Macedonia, and the heraldry basically re-emerged during the socialist time, when the landscape heraldry was the main heraldry, if you could use the term heraldry, but we could say in quotation marks using heraldry. And then in people's idea is that the landscape arms are the model of what arms should be. And it's very hard to fight about this and to get the idea that the coat of arms need to use symbols in order to present stories, to present the qualities of that given municipality. And there is no heraldic body, official heraldic body, that could intervene in any kind of things. We as a Macedonian Heraldic Society, many times we are trying to get involved, but people could not understand that they need us. Because the general idea is that everyone could draw a coat of arms. And most of the time, the result of this is these public bids for coat of arms are considered as a normal bid for buying chairs, and even better because there is no objective criterion. What is good? So we could give the money to whoever we need. And many times it happens when our society is involved, but our level is always involved when there are all these public bids and they have the ideas, what is the project proposals. We come and say this is okay, this is okay, this is acceptable with minor corrections. But unfortunately, many times happen that when the winning proposal by this commission is given to the council, then it's not voted. Because they don't like, they don't understand the heraldic idea behind that. And they many times just make another public bid to get something more understandable by them. Encouraging part in this is that several municipalities have changed their coat of arms from this socialist idea to a new one. Some of them could be seen even here. It's very hard to find out. But they have exchanged all socialists with new one. One of the things is that new public bids include the line that the coat of arms should be heraldic. But then again, there is no a special body or accepted body who could judge whether they are heraldic or not. Many times they do not consider us because Macedonian Heraldic Society is not a governmental body. It is a, we could say, society, but we don't have any legal. So we are trying to find a way that the heraldic judgment or commission or whatever will be included in this process, but so far we don't have any success. Apart from the singular municipality that asked us about our opinion. But not having in mind that all the time when the municipality comes to a coat of arms, it is always political agreement. I mean, a dispute. It's not over the symbols, but it is a classical political who is more for this project or not. And many times they have to have give and take things. So we'll pass your law on the coat of arms if you give us something else. So, in other words, heraldry is not seen very important in these issues. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo koledze. Ze względu na to, że mamy mało czasu, pytania będą indywidualnie składane, ale bardzo to jest ciekawa historia, którą w Polsce też było to samo. W tej chwili już jest to trochę przełamana sprawa, bo jest komisja heraldyczna, która jednak opiniuje. Też jeszcze ma pewne braki, bo czasem niektórzy są pewne opinii nie chcą ale przynajmniej komisja dba o to, żeby ci, którzy te rany